That's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's not going to be a very long conversation with. Oh, here he is.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Now we can.
Oh.
You disappeared on us.
Okay, you want me to go ahead and start with a prayer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity we have to meet. Pray that Andrew will join us here soon, and pray that we'll learn from this case study and will be applicable to our lives in the future. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay.
Brayden, do you have any spiritual thoughts for us?
Yeah. So this past Sunday in my elders quorum, we had a lesson about attending the temple, and I hadn't been to the temple in probably like a good 4 or 5 months. And so me and my wife decided we'd commit to going this last week, and we did. And my favorite part of the temple has always been the slush room, because you can sit and ponder and just think about your life, kind of figure out where you stand and figure out where you need to go in life. And that was just a really good experience for me this past week, is going to the temple and I guess receiving guidance for myself. So that's my spiritual thought. Go to the temple.
Okay, very good. Let me pull up the case study here in just a sec. Okay, student opening prayer, spiritual thought. Okay. Question number 3. What are the possible causes of Progreso's poor sales performance?
Everything. Like the way I feel like they just didn't really know how to be effective. Like, it was at the beginning, it talked about the key indicators and how they just didn't have the means to track their key indicators and figure out where they need to be. I think that was a big one. The other one that it talked about a lot was the pay scale and the compensation. Those are both problems.
Yeah.
In there, he mentioned at one point that the education that was needed, the educational part was really needed to get the people that they were focused on to understand why they needed a loan or why they needed the credit score. And I think that part never showed up again later. It seemed to be missing from the whole.
Yeah, they have to almost create a need. There was an education barrier. And like they said, when they went and asked for more money in the end of 2008, I mean, they really said the problem was I think they said it was more in the management and in I don't want to misquote them. Progreso's woes were due to the economy, to poor execution, and or this, I guess, it questions, were they due to the economy, poor execution, or did Gutierrez need to rethink the business model? I think a little bit of all of those. The economy was terrible in 2008. Poor execution. I mean, their business rollout at Sears was just really flawed, at Kmart rather. Some of the things that they hit on And what was really working for them was the model where they started in grocery stores, and they kind of got away from that.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. Okay, what options are available to improve performance? So I think the compensation structure was one that they kind of hit on, where they needed to change their model in order to incentivize. I think they talked about how they needed to be more, what's the word they use, compassionate towards those in delinquency. So they had to take a different approach, I think, with their target market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their target market is so different from a normal bank.
Right.
That the whole, like even the people that they started to bring in, they had to have a whole new mindset to make this work.
Yeah. Great. Anything you'd add?
What was the question?
Question was, what options are available to improve performance? So we said that showing more empathy, improving their sales model, their compensation structure. I mean, those are a couple of things that would have improved their performance.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying at the first with the compensation thing, because it talked about how the employees just kind of laid down dead because they couldn't really get people, like the sales were low, and because of that they weren't being compensated. Like they didn't have the money coming in from their sales, and so they weren't making as much, and so they just kind of laid down dead, didn't try, and just accepted the $8 an hour. So that, improving the management, like actually teaching their employees how to be effective and how to sell, I think those are the big things.
Yeah. I think if they would have added that education in there though too, that would have helped. If they did like a class at the library in town or something like that, because these are people that don't use banks. They don't
Right.
understand banks. They don't know why they're important.
And
So what would make them walk up to a bank and ask for money?
right. And you mentioned, I mean, if they report to the credit bureaus, and so it gave people an avenue to improve their credit score where they can use more traditional means of financing. So
Yeah.
they just needed to be educated on the benefits that it provided that extended beyond just getting capital and getting resources that they need. It provided a channel to improve their credit if they paid it back.
And
Yeah.
like along with what Sarah was saying, a lot of them didn't really know that much about how banking works, like about finances really. And not a lot of people who do know about finances like know about like manual underwriting, which is what these guys were doing. And so I agree with Sarah that the education part would be a really good idea.
Yeah. 3B, what elements of the business model are validated and why do you think so?
I think what you were talking about, the grocery stores, the Mexican grocery stores that they started in, they were right in, I mean, those are in the community, reaching the people that they were trying to
Right.
reach. And I think there's, so I lived in a community where there was a Mexican grocery store, and we were like inside Little Mexico, it used to be called. And I think there's this trust built in that community. And so when you're inside of that store or things like that, you trust the people that are selling you stuff more than you would at Sears. I don't know. We lost him again.
He's gone. Yeah, I think because in one of my classes there was a person that came in. It was my other entrepreneurship class I took, but they had started a company similar to this, except it was like in India, I think, and they did small little micro loans, and just for the people there in India because they couldn't afford it. And that really does work because the people really do have, like, they really will pay you back. They just have never had the chance to do so because their credit score is low, and they just need a chance to prove themselves. I think that's like that you really can be successful providing those little loans to people who can't afford it, because everybody has the ability to pay back a loan.
Yeah, I just don't think that Sears and those kind of stores were the right avenue until it was a bigger company.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Mexican grocery store, or just going to employers and talking to the employees. I think that would be a model to grow the business until they understood it.
Yeah, and I think that the Mexican grocery store route, I mean, it's a really tight-knit community, and they could have, there's a lot of Mexican grocery stores throughout the country, so their market was not really limited by doing that. I mean, it's limited to some extent, but it's not, like they couldn't have gone, I mean, San Jose, Los Angeles, Arizona, Texas, I mean, they could have grown to markets all throughout the country that have those same types of grocery stores. So it created, creates a significant opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask group members to share alternative points of view. I mean, we kind of talked about that. I think that the business model, they should have stuck with what was working for them. And when they got cute and changed in a different direction, not surprisingly, it didn't work. Okay, how much profit does Progreso earn on a new loan with the current loan numbers per month at grocery store locations? How many new loans do they need per location to break even? You guys have those numbers?
I don't.
Doesn't it? I'm sure you have to calculate. Didn't it say how much they make?
Yeah, it said it in here somewhere. There was like a
124, I thought is what it was.
Yes, 100 and something. And that's on a $900 loan, so that was probably pretty average.
Progreso's average loan was $900 to customers. Gross APR was 26% on declining balance with an origination fee of $45. So there's a whole bunch in math here. I'm just trying to go through and find where it's at.
So overhead was
really long one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it says average overhead was $2,000, not including labor, and they were paying $8 an hour in labor. So they'd need at least 30 to 40 loans.
It says that Progreso's grocery store locations were producing 60 loans at $52,000 in disbursements per month. Just to give you some idea.
Yeah.
Per month per store. There's like figures swinging around here.
Maybe about 20 loans.
That sounds about right.
20 loans a month, maybe. Just to break even.
Yeah.
Depending on how many people they employed at each store at a time. I mean, if it was just one person working at a time, it'd be much more cost effective than.
It said that there
having
two, right? Two working at the same time.
Was it?
Yeah, it was normally two. Well, when it first started in the grocery store chains, it was two, yeah. And then they had their back office team with underwriters and, others.
Yeah.
I
think that's a good estimate.
Okay. Okay, next question. As a group, you must change the current compensation plan to improve the number of loans made per month. You can change the variable amount, the number of loans needed to receive a payout, and/or the fixed compensation. Do not waste time trying to figure out a way to break even with lower loan number of loans. The board will not go for that. So I think having just a flat rate, I mean, $8 an hour is what they were paying. It's not, you know, that's okay. It's not great, but I think really if you want to incentivize your sales force, you have to put some more opportunity on the back end with commission based. So, you know, I think to do that, you have to have commissions where they get, maybe these guys get a certain percentage commission based on the amount of distributions, you know, that are borrowed, in other words.
Because that's what, like, I think it was saying that you could possibly earn like $25,000 over the year with their plan they had rolled out. And that's kind of lame because I've worked a couple jobs where I've been paid off of commission. I didn't have any base salary. And the exciting part about it is you have you can make so much money. It's like, it's not capped or limited. Like you can make a ton of money. And that was like, it was up to you. And it seems like with this plan, they're kind of capped like at that $24,000, and their compensation doesn't allow for them to kind of jump up any higher. And that's actually what the companies that I work for, that's what they did. They did it based off percentage of the sale. So they made like how much off of each loan? $100-something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. So give them like 10, like at the beginning, like 15% of that. And if, depending on how well they perform and how many sales they get, bump them up to a higher percentage.
That works. I think that's the way I would structure it as well. The only thing I would caveat or caution is you don't want them to cut corners and qualify people who are otherwise not qualified in order to loan out as much as it can be loaned out so that it pads their commission check. So if they had some sort of check, you know, some sort of you know, checks and balance against that, which, I mean, I guess you would, because the underwriting team basically has to qualify the person, not the salesperson. So, you know, if you incentivize a salesperson where they got a certain percentage of how much was loaned, let's say they got like a 5% of every amount that was loaned, you know, just using that as a round number. So if someone came in and they did $1,000 loan, that's another $50 bonus for the salesperson, you know, something like that.
Yeah. I know $8 doesn't sound like a lot, but this was an entry-level position, it sounds like.
Right.
And $8 is above minimum wage.
Right. And if you're going to put commission on top of a base salary, then $8
start lower.
Right.
Especially with people that are willing to take the $8 and be happy with it. You need to start lower and then have the commission better. I agree with that.
Right.
Have more commission there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I would just say, like, you know, they get a certain percentage off of the first, you know, maybe the first, I don't know, just using a round number, like $10,000 that they loaned, they get like a 3% of, and then the next 10,000 they get 5% of. So it provides, you know, it basically rewards the best ones where they're making even more money as a percentage of, because they're able to produce more and more.
That's kind of the outline of what we do at our office for percentages. Have them increases before you sell, and it seems to work really well.
Yeah, so I think that's the way I would go. I would have to sit down and really understand the cost structure and understand what's a reasonable amount of loans that an individual could make in order for me to be married to a certain percentage. I don't know if 5% is really high or 5% is absolutely lowballing it, but whatever the case is, I think you just have to, you know, you have to back into what the number is.
I know this is irrelevant because this is not what the question is asking, but I'm still convinced that their employees just need more training. Because, like I was saying before, their employees would just kind of like lay over dead and just accept $8 an hour, which is, I don't know.
Yeah.
They just need.
No, you're
They
right.
need to look for better people.
The sales force has to be trained and incentivized and educated in order to be the key. And this is where the Sears thing was such a failure on the part, because their employees were incentivized to sign people up for the Sears card, and it's kind of an afterthought really to do a loan with Progreso.
Yeah, when I read the part about them taking the cashiers and hiring them away from the grocery store to work for them, for their loans,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's probably not the best place to find your go-to guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else.
Background.
Something else with the compensation that could be good is every once in a while, like roll out some other kind of incentive where like go buy a big screen TV and say the person who has the most, like puts out like throws out the most loans gets the TV. Like, I don't know, stuff like that.
Like a sales contest.
Yeah.
With a reward.
Yeah.
Especially in the slow months, like January, February, those are just always slow months, I think, for everybody. And those are great to have new reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think those are all good ideas. And I think really having a dialogue with your sales team on what are some objections you're hearing, and really trying to educate them on the benefits of using the service. Because like I said, someone that doesn't even need the money, if they need a 636 credit score or a 660 credit score, just getting the loan in the first place and then agreeing to pay it back, could be worth it to them if they had some sort of understanding that by so doing it would increase their credit score. You just have to really educate your clients, and in order for you to do that, you need to have the understanding and the education.
Yeah.
Okay. Once you have made major changes to the compensation plan, develop a broader action plan that would include specific activities. Will you manage activities or results? Will you keep? Okay. Well, first one, will you manage activities or results? I would manage activities, because I think that if you manage activities, then the results will come. You have to be. It's a little bit of both, but you have to educate your sales force on what the benefits are, what the advantages are, what the compensation structure is, what incentives are available for them. And then if you do that, I think effectively, then the result.
Oh, there you went again.
He always leaves at the good part.
I know, right?
There he is.
Yes.
I lost you somewhere along the way again.
I think it was towards the end. You haven't been gone very long.
Yeah.
God, I freaking hate my internet service. It's awful.
So I think one of the biggest problems that I saw was they weren't following up with the results. And because they weren't following up with the results, they didn't know what activities were doing good or poor. And they had no evidence of how of any of the past sales or outcomes. And so you kind of have to, really you have to manage both, I think, the activities and the results. So that you can actually, it's like tracking anything. You have to be able to go back and make sure what you are starting with is working.
Kind of like making a goal and following up on the goal. But
yeah,
I just like, they were talking about, I mentioned this before, but they're talking about how they didn't, like they struggled tracking their results, like all the different like profitability ratios and everything.
Acquisition costs.
Yeah, like they didn't know how, like they couldn't accurately get a read on those.
Yeah.
I feel
Those
like
are really,
focus it all on the
no.
activities part.
Yeah, I mean, that's a key thing. You have to have those figures in order to know where to put your time and resources and money, and where to cut your losses and go on to something that's working better for you as a business.
Yeah, I think if he had those numbers, he could have seen that Sears and Kmart weren't working for him. And
Right.
not just because he was lacking, but because they just weren't good fits.
Right. Yeah, great. And they should have just kept staying and doing what was working for them. Will you keep your current AEs? You expect them to stay with the new compensation plan?
I think the new compensation plan will weed out the AEs that are willing to work and the ones that aren't, and they'll leave on their own and for the company, and you'll be able to tell who is dedicated and really wants it, and they'll stay and they'll work with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'm not going to fire anyone. Let them fire themselves by their performance. If you put a compensation plan in there and they don't perform well, then the good ones aren't going to stick around. And you really have to incentivize the good ones to stay. To do that, you just got to pay them. So I think a new compensation plan would be the key.
Yeah, lowering that $8 base down, like you guys were saying. If like nobody's gonna settle for $4 an hour, so.
Right. And I'm fine with people having like an absolute minimum of like, I'm fine with 8. I'm even fine with 7. But really, you don't want people to feel too comfortable with their base salary. You want them to feel hungry to want to go out there every day and get more and more and more. And if you pay them too much on a base, then some people just get real comfortable and don't want to go out there and push themselves to get more.
Yeah, and I think, the people they were looking for were really salesmen, and they're different. I mean, there's salesmen and there's then people that just aren't, and I'm not. And, I wouldn't be comfortable with a compensation package because it's just not how I work. And so they want the salesman, they'll figure out the compensation package. So
Right.
get rid of the other ones.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Go find some return missionaries that serve their mission in Mexico or something. Okay, that's all of them. You keep your current AEs. We talked about that, and where you find new ones. I mean, I even mentioned that one too. So, all right. Question: when do you think you guys can have the written part done?
I can do it in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can sit here and do mine right now.
Okay, and then poor Andrew's gonna miss out on this one.
If we wanted to let Andrew do some of the questions, I could talk to Brother Nebuchadnezzar. He'll probably let us just send it in on Monday, the questions you guys want.
Yeah, you want to check with him?
Yeah. I'll do that.
Just tell him he had church obligations. That's where he was at this morning.
Yeah.
Where is what number am I doing? Let's see. I just did 7, 8, 9, I think, or 7, 8, 9. Let me see.
I'm at the one that I have to do the spreadsheet. So is that 5 and 6?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one I hate.
Yeah.
And then I think Andrew was right behind me. So Braden, where are you at?
So I did the spreadsheet one last time, so I think I'm on 7, 8, and 9.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes sense because I think Andrew was doing the ones right before me, so he would be on 4.
So I'm on 1 and 2. Andrew's 3 and 4.
Yeah.
You're 5 and 6, and Braden, you're 7, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. See what Brother Nebuchadnezzar says, and if not, we can just I can put something together real quick for 3 and 4.
I'm sure he'll let us too, because he's told me before that we can, if we need extra time, we can just let him know and he'll give us extra time. So
We can still submit the. Let me know on that too. I'm going to an NBA game tonight, and I don't think I'm going to get home until close to midnight. So I'm going to submit the portion. I'll send you.